switch to another device to enable me connect properly. Just give me a few minutes to enable me connect properly.
So please, let's just bear with me for some few minutes. He will properly join us. He's having some glitches with his network. In the next 1 or 2 minutes, he will be with us. Thank you very much for being patient.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
All right, that's great.
Good morning,
I
sir.
hope.
Good morning.
That's great. I hope you can hear me clearly now.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
that
sir.
is great.
I'm in the class.
All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry. I just have to. I have to look for a suitable location to enable you hear me very well and to connect properly with my device. So thank you. Like Dr. Atere introduced me, I am social worker Oni, and I'm going to take you through.
Yes.
Yeah, and can you please mute your mic? Mute your mic so that we can have one class, please. If you are not speaking or you are not allowed to speak, you can mute your mic. All right, thank you. Yes, I'm social worker Yakub Oni, and I'm taking you through this important aspect of the program, and it's SWPCE 604, titled Competencies and Quality Service Delivery. I want to believe Dr. Atere has actually introduced you to what social work really is and what the course actually entails, especially this particular, the programs that are embedded in this particular diet. And in few weeks, we are expected to have covered a lot of ground to enable us write our exams and qualify us perhaps to be members or inducted members of the STEAM Institute. And I want to believe all of you have your reason for joining the class and for wanting to be members of this important institute. So once again, I say good morning and I welcome you to the course. So what are we looking at in this particular course? We are looking at the competencies, the important competencies that are expected of any social worker or any professional social worker who want to improve on his or her practice, or who actually want to profess properly in any area, in any place where he or she finds himself or herself. So I wouldn't know if you have been able to go through the course manuals as posted on the platform. And what are we looking at in this course? We're looking at the competencies of social work professionals in order to create a basis for high quality care and services. That is, when your competencies are okay, when your competencies are tested, when your competencies can be exhibited without any hindrance, then one can talk about improved quality service delivery. So that is to say, if you lack adequate competencies or expected competencies in your profession, especially in this social work practice, the implication is that you may not be able to discharge your duty properly. You may not be able to render quality service to the public who are supposed to be the beneficiaries of your service. So that is why today in Nigeria, we have so many quacks, we have so many people trying to profess what they do not even possess. We have quacks in medical practice, we have quacks in teaching, we have quacks in law, we have quacks in almost every profession in Nigeria. Even among the building professionals, we have quacks because they do not have or they do not possess right competencies. So in essence, we also consider professional competencies that consist of the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and self-efficacy that professional needs to carry out their work. So what we are saying here is you're looking at the skills, you're looking at the knowledge, you're looking at the attitudes, and you're looking at your own self-esteem or your self-efficacy, whether you are self-efficient or not. As a human being, do you possess the right qualities to practice as a social worker? And in the competency we are considering, we also look at a way to ensure safe and high quality outcomes for individuals and populations. That is, social work is about people. It's about impacting positively on people. So how safe are those interventions? How safe are those services you are giving to the people? You as a service, you in this case, you are a service provider. What you are giving them, how safe will the recipients be? How safe will you also be as a service provider? Do we expect any quality outcomes from whatever you are giving us or whatever that is coming from you or from your end? You should also know that when you possess knowledge, you have information and you have understanding of the subject area. So meaning that you must be quite knowledgeable in this particular, in the profession. And when you are knowledgeable and when you have required knowledge or adequate knowledge of what you are professing, the meaning is that you can give right information and you also exhibit right understanding of what you are professing. When you have the skills, this will revert to your ability to use your knowledge effectively, and this could be motor, cognitive, and social skills. So it is when you have that competency that you can say you have the skills. And when you possess the skill, then you know how best you use them effectively and efficiently. The attitude will also refer to their professional long-term views of the subject, human beings, or practice. In Nigeria, they say we do not have the right attitudes to things. So we want to see whether yours will be different as social workers. Do you have right attitudes to Nigerian values? Do you have right attitude towards other creature of God? Do you have right attitude to your clients when you are meeting with them or when you are trying to give them one service or the other? Do you have right attitude to your colleagues, to your co-professionals, with whom you can also provide quality service to the clients, to the individual or to the population? Then we also talk about self-efficacy, which refers to individual perceptions of their ability and capacity to influence actions. Your own perception of your ability and your capacity. You should know yourself quite well. There's what we call self-awareness. You should know yourself properly. You should know the limits of your capacity. You should know the limit of your knowledge. You should know the limit of your skill. Where does your own limits, where does it end? Where does it stop? Where does it terminate? That others can just start from there. Other colleagues that you know will be of benefit to others. Other colleagues who possess useful knowledge that can assist your clients. That is where your own limit ends and other limits will start from there. That is, your own upper limit might be the lower limit of others. And that is how life is. So in social work, you respect others, you respect other ideas, you respect other knowledge, you respect other skills and other expertise in order to achieve in order to achieve greatly and have right quality or good quality delivery. You should, as social workers that has the necessary and require competency to follow the relationship that they will have with others, with the other social workers, even with your clients. You should follow that relationship with the people you are working with, or you are working for. You should value the relationship. It is quite expected that your service user should also understand your own relationship, and you should also understand that your service user will value the relationship that exists between you and them. It is also seen as the crucial starting point for getting help and support on equal terms for working with rather than on people. When you follow relationship as a result of your own self-efficacy, it's a good point to get help and support when you place yourself on equal pedestal with your service users. You should also remember that service users, they value, they take very seriously relationship based, or they value relationship based on warmth, empathy, reliability, respect, which it is the opposite of form-filling approaches to assessment, which reduce the contact between service users and practitioners to a formulaic, rigid, and bureaucratic contact. That is, when you're talking about relationship, you should actually respect the relationship with your clients. You respect the relationship with your service users, because when your service users see you as somebody that is empathic, that has empathy for them, they tend to respect, they tend to gain more, and they tend to cooperate in any intervention you are bringing in to help them or to assist them move out of any difficulty or any challenge they are facing currently. Hence, it is not surprising that service users sometimes talk of social work practitioners as friends, not because they mistake the professional relationship they have with them with an informal one, but because they associate it with all the best quality they hope for from a trusted friend. So your service users will see you as friend, should not see you as somebody else. So it should even take you better than any other person no matter how close to them, when they know that you have the right competencies to handle their case. So the relationship in this case is very, very important. So don't forget, we have talked about attitude, we will talk about self-awareness and self-efficacy, where people or where your service user will value relationship very, very well. What then is social work? Because I did not start at the right time, it's few minutes past 10 when I joined the class. So I will have started from asking you about your background, so that that will enable me to know whether you have had a flair in social work, or you have had opportunity to interact with any social worker or with any social work program in the past. Anyhow, by now, before you join the class, you must have known that you must have developed your interests. You must have had one basic rationale for to being part of the class. So in that regard, we quickly have to go through what social work is all about in brief. Social work, like you know, is an applied and behavioral science profession that promotes human rights, social justice, peace, and conflict resolutions, engendering social change, problem solving, and sustainable development in human relationship, focusing on empowerment and liberation of people, and enhancing the well-being of individuals, family, groups, and communities, utilizing theories of human behavior and social systems. Social work intervenes at the point where people interact with their environment. Principles of human rights and social justice are fundamental to social work. Social work profession is committed to maximizing the well-being of individuals and society. We consider that individual and societal well-being is threatened by socially inclusive communities that emphasize principles of social justice and respect for human dignity and human rights, including the right to freedom from intimidation and exclusion. Well, you may not bother yourself with all my blah, 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 but there are certain fundamental points that are raised in what social work is. And essentially, you will notice that when talk about social work, we talk about enhancing the well-being of individuals. That's the basic thing. You want to enhance the well-being of individual, family, groups, and communities. And of course, when an individual well-being is enhanced, when you lift an individual from poverty level to a very good level, it means that individual life or well-being has been enhanced. So that is to say, if you find anybody in any challenging situation, you try to actually move that person a bit upward, a step above that particular, about that level in that ladder. So essentially, we talk about social work, we'll focus on empowerment, we'll focus on promoting human rights, we'll focus on promoting social justice, we focus on development without discrimination, we focus on enabling every individual, irrespective of age, irrespective of affinity, irrespective of your status, irrespective of where you even come from, ethnicity, and so on and so forth. Any form of discrimination, you try to disregard those discrimination, and you come in to help that individual. That is, you are actually giving out, you are trying to promote well-being of such an individual through social work. That is essentially what social work is all about. And essentially, or additionally, it is also committed to maximizing the well-being of an individual. That is, you improve the standard of living of an individual. When you do that, you are doing the right thing in the social work perspective. You are bringing in your experience as a social worker to enable that person live comfortably well, just like any other person can live. So in this regard, you are trying to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. You bridge the gap between the have and the have not. You bridge the gap between the able and the disabled. You try to actually bridge that gap, or you try to actually bridge the gap between those students, I mean those children that are born of slipper spoons, and those that were not born in that respect. But you let them, you try to level the ground for all of them and allow them to thrive well, efficiently. So with your own expertise as social work, you create an enabling environment, enabling situation for all this without discrimination. And you should not forget promotion of human rights as well. As you are trying to assist an individual, you do not trample on the rights of others. You do not trample on the right of others in order to assist one individual. So you respect that. That is essentially what the social worker is all about. So, and you should also, what we are saying in essence is that you're looking at a socially inclusive environment where everybody feels that sense of belonging. Everybody feels that sense of belonging, not a society of a few ruling over the majority, not society of only a few rich person dominating others. So you try to remove all those barriers. That is essentially what the social work addresses and try to provide solution for. So if you find yourself in any of this area, you should try to exhibit your competence as a social worker and ensure that this does not play their edge. As a social worker, you drop your religion. You don't have any religion. As a social worker, you don't have any political affiliation. As a social worker, you do not belong to any particular class. You are on equal pedestal with others in order for you to deliver good service. Then why social work? Life means to face the demand of day-to-day life and realize thyself. By life tasks, we mean the responses people make as they face the demand made upon them in various life situations, such as growing up in a family, entering school, work, raising a family, and their daily living, working in the industry, problem relating to job, problem relating to family, facing illness, accident, and so on and so forth. So people are dependent on social systems to realize their aspirations and to cope with their life tasks. In order to realize their life tasks, people have to interact with three kinds of resource system in the social environment. The background I'm trying to paint here is the fact that why do we need social work then? Can't other professions handle all this I've just stated? Why do we need social work? You will agree with me that in this life, there are so many social tasks that are being driven or that are facing everybody as a human being. And when you have those tasks ahead of you, it is social worker that can conveniently, competently, and enable or strengthen any individual to enable him or her actually realize his life aspiration socially. Whether you are rich or you are poor, you may be the number one billionaire in the country. Socially, you have your challenges. All of us, we are products of one family or the other. And in the family setting, we have our issues. We have issues between couples, issues between father, children, mother, children, extended families, our ancestral home, with our mates, with our colleagues, everywhere. We are even where we work. As a successful professional, you may not be a social worker, successful professional in other fields. Have you not read what every one of them, what people have actually come by because of life challenges? Have you not seen what people have experienced because of life changing situations that they have to cross or they have to live with? So in essence, what I'm saying is that people actually depend on social system to survive. Mainly, we depend on social systems to survive. And we radiate within three kinds of resource system in our social environment. We talk about informal or natural resource system, which consists of family, friends, neighbors, co-workers. These are natural. You are born from Ikotekpene. So when you are born from there, you are a Nigerian. There's nothing you can do about that. You remain a Nigerian. Even you want to adopt the citizenship of another country, you're going to apply for it. But naturally, you are from Nigeria. You are in Nigeria by birth. Your native land, you belong to that native land, you have affinity with that native land. There's nothing you can do about it. That is a social system. We have formal resource system. This consists of membership in organizations. Like you want to belong to this respected institute now. So this becomes formal. Our relationship will be formal. It's not going to be informal. You work in an establishment. Your workplace is formal situation. You can't handle things informally in your workplace. It's impossible. If you are working with if you are in a public service, you want to go on leave, you don't tell them I'm going on leave verbally. What you do, you apply formally. You apply and your application is approved before you can go. But if it is informal situation, you can just tell your brother that, bros, tomorrow I will be your visitor, or tomorrow I will be in Lagos to spend the weekend with you. Or tomorrow we are going together to see so and so. So that relationship will be different from the relationship that is much more formal. That is a formal resource system. We talk about organization, we talk about trade union organization and other socio-cultural organizations. Then number three is social resource system, such as schools, hospitals, housing society, police, banks, and etc. So these are three resource systems within the social environment which we interact with as individuals. What are the significance of social work? Or let me just put it straight away, the purpose of social work. Why? What are the benefits that we can derive? What goal or what are the objectives that social work want to achieve? What are those things that we are pursuing as social workers? So briefly, we'll consider that, and we'll also go to the duties that are expected of a social worker, and we'll briefly go through that. The purpose of the social work profession is to promote human and community well-being. You remember I mentioned it in the beginning. Guided by a person. Who is that person that will guide it? Is a social worker. An environment construct, a global perspective, respect for human diversity, and knowledge based on scientific inquiry. Social work in its various forms addresses the multiple complex transactions between people and their environments. Its mission is to enable all people to develop their full potentials, enrich their lives, and prevent dysfunction. Just take that. The mission of social work, that is the main aim, the main goal of social work, that what we want to achieve in social work, like I said the other time, is being put straightforward here, is to enable all people to develop their full potentials. You know, we are not endowed the same way. We are not endowed the same time. The level of our endowment from Almighty God is different for one person to the other. Because of that, everybody has that potential to be great in life. Everybody has that potential to be a useful element of the society. So your potential may not be the same as my own potential. That is why we have different professions. Some will be teachers, some will be medical doctors, some will be engineers, some will even be cleaners. Some people will be drivers. Some people will be pilots, just like that. Based on our potential, the God has endowed us with, we want people to develop to their full potentials. If a child is not allowed to go to school, no matter how endowed that child is by God Almighty, if he doesn't go to school, you may not be able to he may not be able to realize that potential. So as a social worker, you want to help people develop to their full potential. You want to enrich their lives. People that are poor, you want to make them rich, or averagely to be able to live well. In that case, you're trying to enrich the life of those people. Assisting the children of very low background to have access to education. In that regard, you are assisting them. You are trying to put them on right track to enable them develop their potential, because when they possess the right education, they will reach their full potential and they will be useful elements in the society. And you also want to prevent dysfunction, so that idle hands, people say, may turn to be the workshop for the devils. See what is happening today. No employment. We have many guys, many young guys in the Yahoo Palafa. Many of them turn to banditry. Many of them turn to what do we call this? Militancy. They turn to others, thuggery, armed robbery, courtesan, and so on and so forth. They are using their potential in the wrong direction. So some are even taken to substance abuse. Some are drug addicts. So what can you do? Social workers will be able to address all these challenges, all these problems. So that is the mission of the of social work. Social work purpose is realized through its pursuit for social and economic justice, the prevention of conditions that limit human rights, the elimination of poverty, and the enhancement of the quality of life for all persons, with the commitment to respect the dignity and worth of all people, and the profession's pursuit for social justice. Remember, social justice is re-echoing, is reoccurring. Social justice always exhibits itself in what we discuss. So anything you do, you bring yourself back to the issue of social justice. Always remember social justice, social justice, social justice. So what we are saying in essence, that you can realize the purpose of social work when you direct your energy to the pursuit of social and economic justice. When we have economic justice, everybody will be happy to have come to this life. When there is justice in our social life, everybody will be happy. When your neighbors are happy, when you are happy, are you sure your neighbors are also happy? in the same environment? If you are happy and your neighbors are not happy, don't you know that you are in danger? So that is what the social work is saying. And I know different religions also support this. Religion also supports social justice. When you have, do you care about those that are around you? Do you care about those, your neighbors? You have taken 3 square meals and your neighbor could hardly take 1 meal per day. Do you think you should be happy? Are you sure you are not in danger? Your children are in good school, and the children of your neighbors, they are not going to school at all. They have become dropouts, and you careless. Are you sure there is social justice there? When your children grow up to become somebody tomorrow, when your children become achiever tomorrow, when your children are successful tomorrow, and these children are there, don't you know that they are the potential armed robbers, they are the potential gang members, they are the potential drug addicts, they are the potential militants in future. And when they become that, and you are neighbors, or you all claim to be Nigerians together, are you sure you are safe? Look at what happened in a couple of weeks ago. That is when this end back governance, the protests. Did it affect every facet of our life or not? You should be able to assess that and evaluate. So if we are bringing good children, you should also be thinking of a way of taking care of those bad children or those that belong to the bad groups. Don't talk about those that are successful alone. Ensure that they are also properly taken care of. Look at what we are experiencing today in the north, the issue of the almajiris. When governments, successful governments, when they don't care or they didn't care about the plight of these almajiris, look at what is happening today. Insecurity everywhere. They are the ones that are easily recruited into this militant group, into this the terrorist group, and so on and so forth, the kidnapping group, and so on and so forth. They are easy tools that are being used in all these areas. Are we safe? Yesterday in the news, I heard that a commissioner from Anambra and his wife was kidnapped while he was going to Abuja to attend governor's daughter's wedding on Thursday. They were kidnapped. I wouldn't know. I even learned that the commissioner was killed. You can imagine that commissioner of a state is an important state actor being waylaid by those gangs. And even if they kidnap them, they will demand for ransom and will pay. So why don't we look at a way of solving all these problems so that we can all live and sleep with our 2 eyes closed? We can all live well. We can have that joy that we are safe in the country. But when we neglect them, we have problems. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. So I just want you to know that in social work, we are committed to respect the dignity and worth of all people, irrespective of where you belong, irrespective of your status. You must be committed to respect the dignity of everyone. You should believe that everyone has his or her worth, and you should respect that. And when you respect that, you are giving regard to such an individual. And that individual will also change for better. And the social justice is an important instrument that we look at in social work. What are then duties of social workers? What are our duties? Because we need to consider all these duties so that you know whether you know the kind of competencies that you need. When you know what you want to do, when you know where you are going, you know how to get there. But if you don't know your destination, you may just be wandering. You may just be wandering around the bush, and you may not get to your destination. So let's briefly consider what our duties are as social workers. Briefly, and when we do that, I will stop and we'll just interact for a few minutes, and we'll ask questions, we ask for clarification before we call it a day. So let me quickly finish this. When I finish this, I'll give you room to interact. Yes. What are our duties? Social workers are expected to defend and uphold the physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual integrity and well-being of all persons. Don't forget, dignity and worth of everybody is important. So you should be able to uphold their development. You should be able to uphold their integrity. You should be able to enhance their well-being of all persons. Enhancement of well-being of all persons without discrimination, without fear or favor. You want to do it. Perhaps you have even worked in places where nepotism is the order of the day. What do you do as a social worker? As a social worker, you should look for a way of erasing that bad menace from taking its root in that organization, if you have the power. But if you don't have the power, there should be subtle ways of eliminating this. If you don't have, there's no individual that has no power. I don't believe that individual that has no power. Even from your home, you have authority in your own home. Nobody can control your home. Nobody can control it without you. You are the authority in that home. What do you do? Do you live a virtuous life, or do you give examples, or do you strengthen societal values even in your home? Do you encourage nepotism? Do you encourage corruption? Do you encourage laziness? Do you encourage all sorts of vices? When you do that, even as small as your home is, what do you expect from the society? And leaving home apart, in your workplace, on your desk, what do you do in your desk to contribute, to add value to societal, to add value to existing societal values? What do you do as an individual? So do you promote social justice on your own desk? Forget about desks of other people. Forget about the desk of your colleagues. Forget about the desk of that governor, the desk of that chairman of a local government. Forget about the desk of the president of a country. Just look at your own desk. What do you do right on your own desk? What do you do? As a driver, when you drive your own car, what do you do? Do you promote social justice when you do that? You think about this. When everybody is conscious of this, you know we can change this nation for better. Number one of our duties, respecting the right to self-determination. Respect the right to self-determination. That is to say, social workers should respect and promote people's rights to make their own choices and decisions, irrespective of their values and life choices, provided this does not threaten the right and legitimate interests of others. You know, I mentioned it the other time. You should respect the right of an individual, respect the right of everybody. As a social worker, it's your duty to respect the right of everybody, because everybody has that right to self-determine whatever he wants to be. If I want to be a driver, you cannot force me to be a mechanic. You can't force me to be a nurse. You can't force me to be a doctor. If I'm not interested in a relationship, you can't say I must just have that relationship, which means you are impeding on the right of others. You are actually trampling on the rights of others. You are trampling on my rights. If I'm your client and you are the service provider and you are giving me stringent conditions that I may not even meet, you are giving me stringent conditions that I can't meet, that you know with my ability I cannot meet, and you don't respect that right. You don't respect my right as a poor person, and you want me to perform as a rich person. You should respect that. So everybody has that right to self-determination, to self-determine what he or she wants to be. So in essence, what I am saying is, if you have a service user, if you have an intervention, or you want to have an intervention, or you want to assist somebody, or you have a client that approaches you, and that you should put it at the back of your mind. You should have that self-consciousness that that person has his or her own rights to whatever he wants. Let him state what he wants himself or herself. Do not dominate. Do not force your own ideas on that individual, because he or she has his or her own right. Number 2, promoting the right to participation. As a social worker, you should ensure that everybody involved in the process of enhancing the well-being of an individual, of a community, of all this, they have the right to participate, which means you don't dominate discussion, you don't dominate everything. You allow others to participate. That is when that thing becomes theirs. The sense of belonging will be there. The willingness that we are the owner is going to be there. That is, they will not look at it as your own solution to their problem. They will look at it as our solution or as my solution. You only provide enabling environment to enable me know the right track to follow. You should act as, how do I put this, as a guide. You should act as a guide. You only guide me to the right path. This is the way you can go. You can go this way. You can go this way. But you don't force your own ideas. You don't force your thinking, your decision on me. So what we are saying is, you should do things together. We should do it together. You should not see it as your own sole responsibility. Because you are a social worker, you invite your client your client comes to you, and you sit on a armchair, and you try to portray yourself as a bigger element in the society. You try to let your client know that you are above him or her. You try to let your client know that you are not in the same category, or your status is quite different from his or hers. No, you don't do that, and you allow their own participation as well. Like like teachers in the secondary school or the teachers in the primary school. You know, the way the teacher teaches, the way the teacher teach in primary school is different from the way teachers they teach in secondary school. And the way lecturers disseminate their knowledge is different from the way the secondary school teacher also teach. You can just put it in that perspective, and you allow their participation. In teaching, when you don't allow participation of your students, what does that mean? Are you teaching effectively? Is your teaching effective? You allow your student to participate in whatever you are doing. When you do it alone, even when you are a boss, when you are head of an organization, you are a head of department in anywhere, and you have your own your various units head to come under you. They are under you, and you are the only one. You started the talking, and you ended the talking. Are you sure you're going to achieve anything? So social workers should promote the full involvement and participation of people using their services in a way that enable them to be empowered in all aspects of decision and action affecting their lives. Human dignity and worth and social justice are the centerpiece values of the social work profession. How are these professional values reflected in the definition of human rights? So respect people's rights. When you respect people's rights, you ensure that people's right to participate in anything is very, very important. It's very, very important. When you are not allowed to participate, it means you cannot have good outcome in whatever intervention you have. Treating each person as a whole No two individuals are the same. Everyone is unique in his or her own way. So you should when you treat an individual, treat him as a whole person. Whole in the sense that maybe it is matrimonial issue you are handling, and you want to look at it from only one aspect of the wife. You're neglecting anything about the husband. You know, the two of them are in a relationship. So there's no way you can treat madam's issues separately without having recourse to involve the husband. If you know you want to solve that problem holistically, that is what this one is saying. Social workers will be concerned with the whole person within the family, community, societal, and natural environment, and to seek to recognize all aspects of person's life. In essence, an individual is a product of a family. That family must also be taken into cognizance. You can't take an individual alone as a lone ranger and treat him. You are treating person with malaria, and that person also has an injury, maybe is in one of his feet, and you are a medical doctor, and you saw that because that person has come for malaria, and you saw that, and that person complained that this is also I have an injury here, so please help me treat it. And you said no, you cannot treat that. You can only treat malaria. That is not professional enough. That is not professional enough. That is not professional enough. Again, other aspects, other duty is identifying and developing strength. Social workers will focus on the strength of all individual groups and community and thus promote their empowerment. Respective interaction with others affirm their sense of dignity and worth. Social workers treat people with consideration. Listen, social workers treat people with consideration, respect their uniqueness, appreciate the validity of their perspective, and listen carefully to what they have to say. Ultimately, according people dignity and worth afford them the opportunities and resources of a just society. Try to develop the strength you have identified in any individual you see. Everybody has his own strengths and weaknesses. Of course, you remember the SWOT analysis. You try to ensure that you help that individual develop that strength and improve or removing those weaknesses. When you develop strength, the length of the weakness will reduce. But when the strength is not developed, the weakness will continue to grow. So please, as social workers, it's your duty to identify and develop strengths of individuals, groups, and community. Challenging negative discrimination. Don't forget I mentioned discrimination the other time. Social work does not respect discrimination of any form. So you should try to challenge any negative discrimination that you notice in your environment, in your home. Do you discriminate between girl child and male child? Do you discriminate as an individual? Let alone being a social worker now. Do you discriminate in your home? Do you discriminate? Do you discriminate in your workplace? Are you gender biased? So all this, as social workers, you do not respect discrimination, and we do not promote that in any form. So you should challenge any negative discrimination you see. People living with disability, you have an encounter with them, or you have interaction with them, or you see people relating with them. Does that relationship suggest any form of discrimination? As a social worker, you should be able to challenge any negative discrimination you notice. Recognizing diversity. We have said that people's lives are diverse. Even Nigerians, Nigeria context is diverse in language, in religion, in our lifestyle. We have a diverse kind of life. Do you recognize that? It's not what is good for the goose is good for the gander. You look at diversity of an individual. That is why an individual is unique. That's why a community is unique. So when you recognize that as a social worker, you should not overlook diversity. So you cannot go to the northern part of the country now as a social worker and you want to preach against polygamy, which means you are not respecting the diversity. You are not respecting that their own religion majorly is Islam, which permits polygamy. You can't go to the Muslim community and you want to enhance their economic power, or you want to promote empowerment among the farmers in a Muslim community, and you trying to introduce to them to be rearing pigs when you know quite well it's against their tenets. So which means you are not respecting the diversity when you do that. But as a social worker, you should be competent enough to recognize the diversity in any situation, in any environment you find yourself, and you adjust. You adjust and you adapt. When you do that, you are giving them recognition. You have recognized their diversity. And what do we call that? And what do we call it? That is respect, which means irrespective of their status, irrespective of what they possess, irrespective of who they are, you still give them honor. That is what we call respect. And of course, regard. When you leave people as they are, that is regard. Respect is not prostrating, it's not this, it's not good morning, it's not good afternoon. Respect is regard. Respect is leaving people or living with people or allowing people, leave them as they are or live with them as they are, which means you try to understand them and leave them as they are. When you leave them as they are, that is respect. So social workers will recognize and respect the ethnic and cultural diversity of the society in which they practice, taking account of individual, family, group, and community differences. I've explained that. Distributing resources equitably, where you know that the resources are not equitably distributed. As a social worker, you should be able to distribute that. You should be able to distribute that. That is social justice. That is social justice. Social workers will ensure that resources at their disposal are distributed fairly, according to need, and ensure service users are linked to resources. When you know that there are opportunities somewhere, you link your service user to those resources. For example, this palliative, do I call it palliative? These various palliative the federal government has rolled out. We have conditional cash transfer, we have support to the aged, support to the widows, and so on and so forth. The various forms of palliative, palliative scheme, the federal government has actually rolled out. There are criteria for people to be beneficiaries in that particular program, in that particular scheme. The handlers, are you sure the handlers are following the criteria? Is there justice in the distribution of that particular resources, that particular palliatives? Look at the palliative after the removal of the subsidy. Look at what happened. Look at all the drama we hear about it. Look at the story we hear surrounding the distribution of palliative. I know of a state where a special assistant who was being in charge of distribution of palliative actually sold about 70 bags of rice. He couldn't account for 70 bags of rice and he was petitioned. And the governor immediately sacked the person. I think it's in Osun State. The governor sacked the special assistant immediately in order to ensure that these resources get to the right beneficiary. They get to the target, get to those that actually need them. So you should, as a social worker, you should be able to ensure that. I think that person should give us a few minutes to finish before he can unmute. So as a social worker, you should ensure that the resources are distributed fairly and according to need, and ensure service users are linked to resources. That is, where you know that there are opportunity, link your service user to that opportunity. Challenging unjust policies and practices. Anyway, many people may not like this aspect as a social worker. When you see unjust, when you have noticed unjust policies or you have seen unjust policy, you should be part of those that you should be in the vanguard of challenging just that unjust policy. For example, recently, I think that person should allow us to finish this class. Please, can you please allow us to finish this class? Please mute your mic. Who is the person? Galaxy Note 9. Please, can you mute your mic? You are the only person disturbing the class. Can you please mute? Thank you. No, challenging unjust policies and practices. Look at the removal of oil subsidy by this present administration. What are social workers? What have they done? As social workers, do we challenge this unjust policy? It's not that you want to challenge violently. You challenge professionally. How? There have been distribution of palliative after the removal of oil subsidy. There are several policies in place in Nigeria. How many of these policies have we actually gone through? Have we digested and challenged them when we see that these policies are unjust? There are so many policies in Nigeria in respect of social life, in respect of social protection, in respect of social welfare. Some of them are not just policies. As a social worker, you should brace up and be able to challenge it through legal means, through appropriate channels. That is when you are a social worker. So as a social worker, put it at the back of your mind that you are ready to challenge any unjust policies and practices. When there are practices in your environment, when there are practices in your workplace, when there are practices that are not unjust in your area as social workers, you have a duty to bring to the attention of their employers. You have a duty to bring those unjust practices to the attention of policymakers through appropriate channel. You have the duty to bring it to the notice of the politicians. You have the duty to bring it to the notice of the general public. When you see that situation where the resources are not equitably distributed, that one is an unjust practice. They are to distribute palliative, they are to distribute rice, even though that one cannot solve our problem, giving us rice, giving us beans, giving us maize, and so on, and giving us ankara, giving us all these things. And that one, is that a lasting solution to our problems? No. And that actually bring back the cost of transportation, the cost of buying fuel? Does that bring more food on our table, or does that bring more food to our table? Is there any improvement in our lives with a Congo of rice being given to me as a person living in a community of so many people? Or even if they give me a bag of rice, one day that bag of rice will finish. Is that a lasting solution? Is that a lasting solution to our problem, to our present problem? We should begin to look at what can be a real economy empowerment for our people. As social worker, you should be able to look at this and see whether the current situation is okay, whether the current policy are okay, whether the current policy are working the way it should work. Are we using the right strategy to achieve the objectives of those policies? In the first instance, are those policies formulated with the right people, the right stakeholders carried along? Were the right stakeholder carried along while the policy were being formulated? Now, are the policy ready for review? Or are they due? Are they due for review? These are questions you ask yourself as social workers. There is this particular policy, the National Social Protection Policy, that was formulated by the federal government and that is being used up to the present moment. Must it be used forever? Does it have a lifespan for review? Are those strategies put there? when it was first formulated, are they still relevant? Are they still potent? Are they still effective today? Can policy of 2017 be useful today in 2024? In 2017, there wasn't any removal of oil subsidy. Today, there's removal of oil subsidy. How much was the cost of a liter of fuel in 2017 or even in 2018? How much is a liter of fuel now? A liter of petrol, how much is it now? I think then it was 85 or thereabout. Today is about almost 1,000 naira, 850, 750, 670, and so on and so forth. You can imagine. So that is the need for the review of existing policies. As social workers, we should equip ourselves with the right competencies to challenge all these things legally. So what are those practices that are oppressive, unfair, or even harmful? You must have heard about female genital mutilation. The FGM is an harmful practice, female genital mutilation, and there are so many organizations, so many international agencies campaigning against female genital mutilation. And alas, the elites, they even engage in that female genital mutilation. They engage in cutting female after birth. Even medical doctor, some medical doctors, there is a medicalization of even this FGM that we'll talk about. You can imagine a medical doctor even promoting FGM, female cutting, female genital mutilation, or female genital cutting. You can imagine that when such is happening as a social worker, do you just watch? You just watch and allow this to go without being challenged? We do challenge all this. These are harmful practices that should be challenged, because when you see an oppressive policy, you see an unfair policy, you should be in a position to challenge such policy as you have the opportunity to do so. As a social worker, you are empowered to do that. Lucky, can you please mute your mic? Adesola Aderibigbe, please mute your mic as well.
Okay.
When you're working in solidarity, working in solidarity, you do not work alone. You are not a lone ranger. You should work with others for you to achieve maximally. Social workers have an obligation to challenge social conditions that contribute to social exclusion, stigmatization, or subjugation, and to work toward an inclusive society. You remember, I will talk about inclusive society, that everybody is involved. You do not discriminate on gender. You do not discriminate on anything, on religion, on social status, on ethnicity, cultural values, opinions, or where you come from. Social injustice prevails when society infringes on human rights, when society holds prejudicial attitude towards some of its members, that is discrimination, and institutionalizes inequality by discriminating against segments of its citizenry. So encroachment on human and civil rights deny equal access to opportunities and resources, limiting full participation in society. Collectively, the injustice enacted by advantaged groups create conditions of discrimination and oppression for disadvantaged groups. Members of oppressed groups often personally experience dehumanization and victimization. Social workers understand the consequences of injustice and intervene to achieve individual and collective social and economic justice. Like we said, you work in solidarity. You look at other people's rights. You look at what is happening, and you look at the practices that will actually challenge social conditions such as social exclusion, stigmatization, discrimination, social injustice. You see, when there is a social injustice, you see society society infringes or human rights of others. You see society holding prejudicial attitude towards some of its members. I remember sometime the Southeast zone of geopolitical zone of the country was clamoring for more states because they felt that, or they still feel that they are marginalized, because according to them, it is the only zone that has either 6 states or so, or the 5 states instead of 6 or 7 states, whereas some zones have 6 or 7 states. So looking as a social worker, you look at, is any segment of society marginalized, you try to correct it. So these are some of the duties. These are some of the duties. Now what for this particular, now what for Oluwatosin. Sorry, I'm trying to mute that person from my hand here. So these are some of the duties that are expected of social workers. I can't list them all. You can add and add and add when you read further. When you have further reading, and you also have better experience while you are practicing, maybe after your induction, when you have become registered members of C-ISOWN, then you, with your experience, you can add and add and add to duties that you feel, excuse me, the duty that you feel social worker should perform. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stop at this point. We have comment, you have contribution, you can you have the room, you have the opportunity to do that in a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So if you have questions, you can just raise your hand, and you raise your hand and you unmute to ask your question, or you introduce yourself so that I know who I'm talking with. Yes, I'm done. Yes, SC Mene, please unmute and ask your question.
Thank you very much, sir, for all you've taught us. It's very interactive. It's very interesting class. Sir, please, what I want to know is that you said you sent something to the group. I went through, I didn't see anything, so I want to know what you sent so I can check it out later.
Okay, are you on that platform?
Yes, I'm on the platform, sir.
There are some materials that are sent there this morning. I think you can check. But if you do not have it, I wouldn't know whether you already have your class representative or the class governor, as the case may be. Such a person can just chat, can just get in touch with me so that I can send the material to your class for you to go through as a guide.
I don't think they put us in any class, so I just in that group. If you can send it to the group, well, I appreciate, sir.
It's all right, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You didn't introduce yourself anyway.
It's because you already mentioned my name. That's why I did not introduce
myself. Yes, no, that is.
Yeah.
I already have your name. Where are you from?
Okay.
Where are you? Where do you work? What's your background? And presently, are you in Kano State or are you in Maiduguri?
Okay. My name is Elsimene. I'm in Lagos State.
All right.
I'm based in Lagos. I currently work in a hospital.
Good. That's great. You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. My name is Alali Olamide. A student
you're
from
welcome.
last. Yes, sir.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, when you were talking about the policies and practices, sir, I want to know if we have social worker amongst those who make policies in this nation. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes,
sir?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I can hear you. Are
yes,
you done
sir.
with your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, I just want to know if we have social worker amongst them.
Yes, I heard you. I heard you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. You see, in making policy, there are steps, there are procedures, and there is a process to follow in making policy. And one of such steps to follow, or to actually ensure you pass through, is agenda setting. In the agenda setting, you try to understand what we have on ground. I want to tell you, like Nigeria now, you know, we operate a federal system of government, and from the federal government may just set up a committee from their level, especially at the level of the ministry. And at that level, any policy, the relevant stakeholders are always involved. Like when they want to formulate the social work, social protection policy, which has to do with the social life, our own social life. I know the initial agenda, the idea was initiated from the Ministry of Social Welfare in conjunction with the Ministry of Women Affairs, the related ministry, relevant ministry, the line ministry that they know, that are familiar with social practice or social welfare. They were actually involved. Otherwise, they are the experts that will be used. They are the experts that were used to formulate the policy. But what I'm saying is that at that level, when the policy is formulated, the policy will actually follow that process up to the point of implementation. At every stage, relevant experts, including the social workers, they were involved. But you know one thing, you know the Nigerian factor. When I'm in a position now and I'm a social worker, or maybe I'm an engineer, so the nepotism, disregard to social justice, all this will come into play. They will want to bring those that they know that they will participate without giving them any problem. They want to bring them in to participate. But essentially, when they are doing the policy, since they know that it's a policy, they follow some criteria. They follow certain criteria that have best practice. I know that for sure. So what I'm saying in essence is that the social workers are usually involved. So when you get at the state level, it's not only the federal government that formulates policy, the state government too, they also formulate their own policy, and they are called state policies. Like for instance, we have a policy on social protection, and some other states also develop their own policy in respect of that. They may not necessarily follow the federal government pattern. They may follow the federal government pattern, they may not. They may not even use the federal government criteria to even set up their own policy, but formulating a policy as a standard gauge for us to know that this is a policy before it can be taken as a policy. That is number one. Number two is the fact that in formulating policy, you cannot just wake up and say, I want to formulate a policy. These international agencies are always involved, like USAID, UNICEF, UNFPA, and so on and so forth. They are always involved. At times, most times, they sponsor this policy formulation. Government don't do it alone. These international organizations, donor agencies, they support them. And when they support them, they set a standard to be followed. And they usually do that. But any policy always has a lifespan. So when a policy is becoming obsolete, such a policy should be reviewed, and a new one should replace it. Before the National Social Protection Policy formulated by the federal government, before that one was done, there have been a number of policies on social welfare, disaggregated policies. So the National Social Protection Policy now became an umbrella policy to cover all those social welfare issues. In fact, it's the only comprehensive policy, as I'm talking to you today, that has actually addressed the social welfare of Nigerian people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if that satisfies your question.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at the implementation stage. When policies are formulated by the right cabinets, then at implementation stage, sir, what really happened? Because that is
Well,
why we miss it, or that is why we tend to have itches.
Jesus. Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. The you and I, it's you and I that make that policy implementation very difficult to implement, or that policy implementation to take place. It is you and I now. You bring in Nigerian factor. Talk about policy in Nigeria. We have many documents, many workable, many beautiful and very good policies of international standards. We have them. Don't let us make new policy. Let us rely on the existing one. Nigeria will be better. But to make it better, it depends on everybody's contribution, including you and including me. We have role to play to ensure that we do not have policy somersault and we have right policy implementation. Thank you, my sister. Yes, Epo, you can ask your question now.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
Lucky, you're welcome.
Are you hear me, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Hello, please go ahead.
Okay,
I
sir.
can hear you.
On your lecture, you can hear me, sir?
Go ahead, please.
Hello, sir. Okay, sir.
Hello,
On your
go ahead.
topic, you lecture on competency and quality service delivery.
Yep.
Now, in a case when in a social setting, which is one of the social setting in the hospital, in a case you are following up a client and the client is suffering from one of the epidemic, or HIV, and which is unknown to you, you don't know, and he refuses to tell you the problem is passing through. You don't even tell the truth about the health status of him or her, for you as a social worker to follow him up or her. But in case he didn't tell you the truth, what will it be? What would be the way forward for you as a social worker to deliver a quality service delivery to the clients? That's my question, sir.
Okay, thank you. You know, we'll talk about the fact that the social worker does not work alone. Sir. Yes. Can you hear me? We talk about.
I can hear, sir.
Yeah, we talk about social worker cannot, as social worker, you cannot work alone. You work with other professionals, and it's good even when you work in the hospital. We have.
Okay, sir.
Before a client is referred to you, you must have passed through many stages. You must have passed through some tables, especially medically. They must have treated him or her. They must have done some investigation before they are referred to you, because it is in the hospital settings. And if truly such a client does not even pass through those stages, or he just try to hide what happened, and you got to know later, you refer the person directly to the right place, especially the medical doctor. You refer him to take clinical treatment in this regard. You try to do your own social aspects, and for clinical treatment, you actually refer him to the right place. But socially, you know how to handle that. And if you don't know how to handle that, you don't have the skill. Because as a social worker, you're not expected to possess all the skills. You only need to have basic knowledge of everything. You don't have the complete knowledge of everything. So you refer such a person to the right expert, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Except you didn't introduce yourself.
Okay, sir. Noted, sir.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, noted.
Welcome. Yes, Olamide too. We didn't know you except your name.
Yes, I said I'm a student of LASU, sir.
Oh, sorry. You did.
Yes,
you did.
Sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You're welcome. Yeah. Any other question? Any other question? or comments or contributions in what we have just explained? Well, if there are no
Well,
questions,
hello, sir.
yeah, go ahead.
To me, yes, to me, on my comment is just like the lecture was ransom. Nice. Just like a lot of things like this, we have been taught, and just for us to freshen our brain through this, we taught when during our university days
Yes.
as a graduate. Yes, I love that. Everything goes in lines. And I believe that after now, I'll go through my library to do more research about what you have taught us so far or learned from this lecture. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. That
Yes.
is that is exactly what the institute is trying to do. We're trying to actually bridge
Yes.
the gap between the GAN and the TAN. How do I mean? We're trying to
Yes.
ensure that from your class, from
Yes.
your
I
university
appreciate, sir.
experience, from your theory in the school, we are coming to the practice now. So for you to practice efficiently, and for people to qualify you or even to call you a qualified social worker, for you to hand that name, to have that SWU to your name, and for you to get the certificate of membership to belong to the respected institute, that is why you are being taken through this, so that that gap is bridged. So in the between the practice and theory, so you'll be able to function very well in the society. So I want to appreciate you too as well, and I want to thank everyone for your patience with me this morning and with the little I could give to you. So until another time when we have the opportunity of coming to meet again, I wouldn't know whether Gladys is interested in making a contribution.
Okay, sir. No, good morning, sir. I'm glad it's
Well,
busy.
okay, you're welcome.
Yes, sir. No, sir. I fully understand with what my colleagues have been, the questions and all of that. I'm okay with it, sir.
It's all right. You're welcome. You are coming from
Thank
where?
you, sir. I'm calling from Abuja.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, yes.
So that is great. You are welcome. So, like I was saying, we'll leave everything till next week. I wouldn't know. I will check the timetable the next week when we come our ways again. And I want to say that you remain blessed. And I pray that God continue to be with every one of us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Amen.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much, sir.
God bless you, sir. The
God
class
bless
was
you,
very
sir. Thank you
interesting.
very much, sir.
Thank you
Sir, we
very much.
really enjoyed the class.
You are welcome.